and photographed recently by NASA and represented here. They're absolutely awesome. So, explain God. Well, a measure of the explanation is He's so big, He's so powerful, He's so awesome that He has left the mark of His handiwork throughout the entire universe. God is awesome. And the little girl says, yeah, I knew that, but explain Him. Okay. Another step in explaining God would be to watch Him in His grand design for the earth, the entire universe. We call this creation and symphony, and especially in the activities of man. Explain God. Well, if God is interested in man, and interested enough in that little girl to impress upon her His own existence, He must be a person beyond our limitations. We call that the incorporality of God. God is not limited to our corporate bodies and corporal bodies, our physical bodies. God is everywhere. So we find His interest in human history. First of all, we see Him creating the earth as a sphere of water. We see the Spirit of God moving upon the face of those waters, and creating an electromagnetic field. We see the firmamental canopy that would enhance the signal of the stars and protect man in a cocoon of compassion. And then we see on day number 3 that God created the dry land and created the plants. Now those plants are absolutely necessary for the provision of man and necessary for the ongoing concern. So whoever is this God, He has concern. He has expressed Himself in written word. So He is concerned about, to the little girl, concerned about the meals that you eat today. He has instilled in the mind of your daddy and mother a concern so that mother right now is preparing the evening meal. Now the little girl is getting a better insight. You know, for the philosopher, you're not far removed from that little girl. For the philosopher, you can reflect upon the fact that God has provided the microbial life forms, the microbes, the bacteria in particular, to biodegrade living material and the cast-off excrement of that material, and once living material, to recirculate all of those nutrients back into the plant of life. God provided those before He created man. God provided those before He created any of the other living systems. So the intricate alignment, actually, many of these microbes, we now learn, get their signals from other entities, just like all of the life system gets its signal from other entities. So this God is showing His concern by creating a world. He created in an absolute perfection. By the way, as He did so with this firmamental canopy around the earth and its response to the expanse of space, therefore the word rakia in the Hebrew for that canopy involves the spatial dimension, but a particular canopy, crystalline canopy, responding to those signals. So this God is concerned about the human race, and in that context, He creates man and woman in beatific design and harmony with all of creation. But this God does not create man as a robot. He's not a tyrant. He's a God of compassion. The little girl knows that her father and mother love her and protect her, but they want her to grow to think her own thoughts, consistent with purity, consistent with valor, consistent with courage, but her own thoughts. And as that is the dream of the parent, so that that child can come into reflective maturity himself, so it is with God. Because we're created in the image of God, He wants man to come into reflective maturity and make the right decisions. And he will not impose himself upon those decisions. He said, I set before you the way of life, and you can walk in it, or the way of death, and you can walk in that if you please. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. He that soweth to the flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. God spells it out. You have your choice. If you want to sow to the flesh, you'll of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. So this God created man with the right to choose. And mankind as a whole, certainly each individually participating, chose the way of death. And ultimately, in order to shorten the lifespan of man, to shorten his ability to continue to learn to sin, God brought the global flood. There is ample evidence for that. This God, whoever this God is, explain God, has left a record as we grow in maturity and in scientific dexterity, as we can examine the facts of the earth and many of the facts of the heaven. We find a worldwide sedimentary layer indicating that there was a worldwide flood. We find evidence, Genesis chapter 10 states that the earth expanded. We find evidence that the globe has expanded. We have evidence that in the future, now whoever this God is, has given us a prospect of the future. In the future, he forecast a tremendous tribulation time, a time of restoration and millennium, and then a time of the entire creation being restored. Explain God. God is the one who inhabits all space and more. He inhabits eternity all simultaneously. God is a person. We were made in his image, and we are persons. So the little girl can understand to a great degree, God is bigger than all space. God is bigger than all the universe, and he's a person. Explain God. His handiwork, his observation of man, and provision for man throughout all of these ages. You see, there was a dispensation of innocence, and man failed. So they brought a judgment, but God provided a way to escape. Then there was the dispensation of consciousness, and man failed again. God left him to his conscience. God brought judgment, but at the same time he made a way of escape. There was the dispensation of human government, and man failed again. But God, even though he brought judgment, made a way to escape. There was the dispensation of law. Man failed miserably. He said, give me just a few simple laws, I'll obey them. No one outside his Son has ever adequately obeyed those laws. So God made a way to escape, bringing us the dispensation of grace. But now, we have floundered in the dispensation of grace to the point where it appears that it's coming to a close. And even sincere people are having difficulty expressing their faith in the school system, difficulty having the same privileges that the atheists have, difficulty having the same privileges that foreign secularists have, difficulty having the same privileges that foreign religious bodies have. That which built our great nation is now being eroded to an incredible degree. So we are coming to the close of this dispensation of grace, but that will open a dispensation where God will show the earth by his own intervention in a millennial reign how there can be peace, but that peace can only come if we are right with that Creator God. Explain God. First, he's explained in the fact that all men know there is a God. Secondly, he's explained in the marvelous handiwork, in the microcosm in the mind of man. Then he's explained in his historical concern for Almighty God. Now, let's take it a step beyond that. The late Dr. Henry Morris was a great scientist and a great thinker at the same time. Great philosophic mind. And he brought to our attention, when we come to this matter of conceiving,